Well, today's Senate Republicans passing President Trump's big, beautiful bill after more than 24 hours of that vote-a-rama with the help of Vice President J.D. Vance. He was a tiebreaker.
On this vote, the yeas are 50, the nays are 50. The Senate being evenly divided, the Vice President votes in the affirmative. The bill as amended is passed.
Many Republicans in Congress racing to meet Trump's 4th of July deadline to pass that bill, while the Democrats in the minority united in opposition, ready to challenge it. Political strategist Luke Ball joining us now with more. Luke, good to see you. Back now on the House. Had a crazy last hour. I know last I checked, they were in committee. I don't know if they've made it out just yet, but where do things stand at this hour?
As it stands right now, there's a lot of House Republicans that are very frustrated with what the Senate did whenever they got the legislation. The House had an agreement. The House Freedom Caucus, who I would align myself strongly with, said we have to meet these deficit cuts. We have to meet these spending cuts. When it went over to the Senate and came back, what we found out was it ended up with $650 billion more in spending. It would raise the deficit much further. It completely threw out all of the guidelines that we came to an agreement on. It had multiple provisions that weakened and diluted, in my opinion, some of the president's priorities. So as it stands right now, we're not very happy with the state of legislation. We want to make sure that we get a good bill for the American people. There's many good things in this legislation that I stand with, making sure that we don't have tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, making Trump's tax cuts permanent. I could go on and on. But unfortunately, as the bill stands right now, I think that the bad far outweighs the good in the Senate's version, and it's my hope that the House will rectify some of those issues.
Is there going to be enough time for this thing to end up by Friday at the White House, at the West Wing? Because it seems like, to your point, you already had the deficit hawks before it got to the Senate saying this is going to elevate the deficit. Now, with all these amendments, it seems as though the spending is absolutely out of control. It almost defies the entire purpose of why Republicans put this in place in the first place.
You're correct. I don't think we meet the July 4th deadline. I think the president realizes that we're getting to a place right now where it may be unrealistic to assume that we can get to that point. You saw his remarks this morning before he left for Florida, kind of saying we'll see what happens. I think it's okay if we extend the deadline past July 4th. You know what happens if we miss the July 4th deadline? Nothing. We get to have a better piece of legislation. It is okay if we move a little bit forward and have this negotiation process. There's also some provisions in here that are not popular with Republican populists, like some of these cuts to Medicaid, making sure that we actually have our base that we established in the last election carry us through the midterms. There's some practical and pragmatic members of Congress that are saying we don't think that the bad here is going to be completely ignored by the good in the legislation. We have to make sure this is a solid bill. And unfortunately, I think the Senate did a disservice to the president's priorities. Let's get a piece of legislation that we're proud of that doesn't come back to bite us in the butt a little bit, because in my opinion, President Trump gave us filet mignon priorities, and right now the Senate has given us hamburger helper-style policy provisions.
Okay, I got to ask this question, but is Elon Musk in the right at this point? He's been saying that this is absolutely going to drive the deficit out of control, and yet here we are. You're saying it's going back to the House. It narrowly passed the House to begin with. This was a 51-50 vote thanks to the Vice President in the Senate. Are we walking towards dead in the water for this bill?
So maybe this Senate version, yes. The number of members of Congress that I interact with that have either put out public statements or that I have seen give comments on the bill as it stands right now, I think tally up enough to where Speaker Johnson has a problem. Elon Musk is correct in some of his commentary surrounding the deficit and spending, but I also think he has an ulterior motive. I think that he and Trump are feuding right now, which as a Republican I hate. There's some good in the comments that he's saying, but by and large, I think he just didn't get what he wants from the administration.
Okay, we'll be talking about that also later in the hour. Luke Ball, thanks for that analysis from the Republican side. We'll see what happens now in the House. In the meantime, let's move on to topic number 3.